Hello everyone, welcome to this video about NCG's top 100 value courses. If you haven't had a look at the list at the moment, please do so on our website, nationalclubgolfer.com. It's proved to be quite a controversial list in many ways, lots of comment when it was released a couple of weeks ago, and I'm delighted to say the man who put that list together, Dan Murphy, is with me to talk about it and to explain himself as well. Dan, welcome.
Thank you, Steve.
So talk to me then about the process that went into putting this top 100 list together. I should say it's one of a number of lists that that we've been doing over the last couple of years, but what was particularly different about this one?
Yeah, so this is an interesting list, and in fairness, probably one that needed this kind of explanation, just so everyone can understand what it was that we were trying to create. So what we did was we took all the courses that we have that we think are the best 200 in GB&I. We discounted the Irish ones because we didn't want to get into the business of euros and exchange rates. We took the green fee. So the green fee for 2020, sort of a weekday green fee, and we added that number to its ranking in the NCG list. And so the lower the number, the better it came out. So if a course had a very reasonable green fee and was very high up the list, so let's say, for example, a £75 green fee, and it was 50th in GB&I, then that is a total of 125. And what I really wanted to do with this list was just to sort through the sort of the royals and some of the very exclusive clubs, which are wonderful golf courses. And normally in our list, we pay no attention to the arbitrary amount of money that somebody has attached to it to play it. We just judge whether we think the golf course is good. But on this list, I wanted to try to give people the chance to play great courses without necessarily spending hundreds of pounds on it. So that's how we put the list together. So we have only considered about 160 courses, and we haven't considered lots below it.
Value is a very difficult thing to judge, I think, because it has various connotations that go with it. Some people talk about value as an experience. Some people think about value in terms purely of what something costs. So what was the motivation then in trying to take on that challenge? Because it's a difficult one, and there are people who are going to disagree with you, whatever you do.
Yeah, and look, what I'd like to do is just explain so that people understand what it was we were trying to create, because I completely appreciate that to many golfers, the courses that are charging 150, 200 pounds appear towards the lower end of that list, and I understand that on the face of it that is quite an odd thing. But no, I strongly believe that that while we all have a different tolerance of what is acceptable to pay for a round of golf, and I'm absolutely not telling anybody what the correct answer to that is, because there isn't a correct answer. But what I am saying is that there are certain courses in that list that give you a chance to pay not as much money and yet get an incredible golfing experience. And it is not the case, and I think you agree with me, value does not mean cheap. Value means get what you pay for, or ideally more than what you pay for. And I think that if you look down this list, obviously especially the nearer the top you get, what you are seeing is the very best courses at pretty realistic, for most people, green fees. Now, equally, these golf courses are the absolute elite golf courses in Great Britain and Ireland. So, but they're basically all world-class golf courses. And you know what? If you're not comfortable paying those green fees, then all power to you. That there are loads and loads of great golf courses you can go and play. But equally, I speak to lots of people who are arranging golf trips, and typically they might be on a budget for the whole trip, and they're trying to work out how they can play 3, 4, 5 rounds and hit a certain number. And obviously they want to play the best courses they can. And I think that what this list will do is allow you to pick a couple of jewels to set your trip off. And you might find that it's not quite as expensive as you're expecting it to be.
Yeah, important to point out that we took rat rate as our green fee judge. And as with all of these things, there are often deals and stay and plays and such likes that golfers can look at if they want to reduce the price.
Yeah, there are always crafty ways, of hopefully being able to play for a little bit less. Whether that's getting a member to sign you in, or artisan rates, or playing at dusk, or playing off peak. We just judged it on sort of rack rate, summer, midweek green fees. So yeah, clearly there are better ways of or cheaper ways of playing these courses. But we wanted to present, a pretty true picture, because, just because a course offers one time per week, on a Monday evening for a certain amount of money, I don't think that's really representative. But so I think we were trying to give a kind of a truer picture. And if you look down that list, there are bargain's probably the wrong word, because it obviously depends what you're comfortable in paying. But there are some fantastic golf courses there for less than you might expect.
And as always, when you produce a list like this, you're going to get comment from people who will say naturally, and why is this course not included? What courses did you think about when you looked at value? I mean, you have explained that we took the top 200 of our courses and used that to put together our list. I mean, was there a thought about doing a list that didn't do that perhaps judged courses purely on things like price?
Yeah, look, for a start, it's not like I've played all the courses. I'm trying to judge the courses that I know, so that there'll be plenty of golf courses, obviously, that I haven't been to. And there has been some great feedback that I absolutely take on board, and a couple of ideas. We have done a list in the past that said best courses for under a certain amount of pounds. We've done one under £50, one under £80, and I think there's definitely a place for those. But I think my biggest takeaway from the feedback, which constructive feedback I genuinely welcome, is that what I'm going to try to do is get all of the courses that appear in our England, Scotland, and Wales lists, either in the top 100 or shortlisted. I want to get them all into the GB&I master list. Now that would give us a pool of somewhere close to, let's say, somewhere between 400 and 500. And I'd like to make a value list from those 400 or 500. I think that would be pretty good, and I think that would address the quite valid criticism that it would mean there was nowhere in that list that was more than, I don't know, let's say £100 or thereabouts as a green fee. Which I do take that feedback on the chin, which is that it does say it's a value list, and while it's arbitrary, £100 is probably about a decent ceiling as to something that could be considered value, to most people.
Well, aside from that, I mean, obviously, for those of us who love a good ranking list, what's coming in the future for NCG Top 100s?
Well, obviously, this year has been a pretty difficult and a bit of a write-off, and in terms of getting out there in any meaningful way and updating the list. We've always said we want to be current, and we want to be able to add something before we create a list. We want to have done it from being out there and playing the courses. That is the absolute essence of what I hope NCG Top 100s are known for. So essentially, we've basically just put the schedule back a year. So we turn our attentions back to England next year. So we publish our England list at the end of 2017. Unbelievably, that's 3 years ago now. So next year we'll be updating our England list, and we'll also be updating our GB&I list, which will by then be 2 years old. So they're the two huge lists that I'll be working on next year, and I'll be aiming to give a true up-to-date picture, a couple of new entries potentially, new courses that have opened recently, and obviously lots and lots of the courses in those lists that are doing work ongoing. I mean, that is a huge takeaway if you're lucky enough to play the finest courses. So many of them are investing, and we've SNA would be one example, wouldn't it, of a course we played quite recently together. And you would need to go back there and reassess, wouldn't you? Because that is now a different golf course than the one that I saw on my last visit 7 or 8 years ago. So the great thing about course ranking is a painting the fourth road bridge kind of task. And once you get to the end, it's time to start again. And so that is a challenge, but one, as you can imagine, I absolutely embrace.
Well, I hope that's giving you all something to think about, and some information in the way we put together our top 100 value list. Don't forget, you can look at all of our lists by clicking on the NCG Top 100s tab on our website, nationalclubgolfer.com. Hope to see you again soon.